this tutorial, we will be covering specification sheets. To quickly access a specification sheet, you can type the name of your instrument in the search bar. This will show all documents associated with your instrument. For instrument FE100, we see 3 documents. The first one is FE100/CL. This is your calculation report. The next document is FE100/PD. This is your process data report. And lastly, FE100/SP is your specification sheet. To open any of these documents, you'll right-click, click Actions, and click Open Document. Here we have our spec sheet. The method shown is a quick way to access our spec sheets. However, you can also open spec sheets through the Domain Explorer or from the Engineering Data Editor or EDE. To begin, we'll open a spec sheet through the Domain Explorer. We'll go to the Instruments folder, right-click on the instrument that we want to open the spec for. We'll then click Actions and click Open Specification. The first time you open the spec sheet for that instrument, SPI will ask you to select the fluid state. SPI will then open the spec sheet to match that fluid state. Here we have our spec sheet for FE001. Because this is a blank spec sheet, we'll open a spec sheet that has data. For this example, we'll use instrument FE100. We'll open the spec sheet for this instrument the same way we did previously. Here is the spec sheet for our instrument FE100. On the left, we have header fields that categorize the spec information. The fields on the left break up the data into logical data groups for the instrument being specified. The common groupings used on specifications are general, process conditions, and purchasing. These grouping headers cannot be edited by the user. The middle section contains information that the spec sheet will provide. The blank fields in this section are user-defined headers. All others are not editable. Note, the header updates are only to the specification being edited. The last section contains the values for the headers from the middle section of our spec sheet. The majority of the fields with white backgrounds on the right side of the specification can be edited. However, the gray fields may not be modified in the specification view. Often, the SPI administrator will disallow editing of the information in the general section to help enforce site workflows and basic indexing philosophy. If a field is found to be not editable, you can update the values for that field in the module to which it belongs. As an example, all of the information in the general section can be edited in the tag property screen or in an index EDE. If the datasheet has been modified and requires a new revision, you can click the Revisions button here on the bottom toolbar and add your new revision. Now, before we print, we need to make sure that our printer setup and page setup are correct. You can click File and click Printer Setup to set your default printer. In addition, you can also click File and click Page Setup to set how the pages will be printed. Now that everything is set, we'll click Save to save any changes that we made. Then we'll click Print. It will ask us to print preview our report, which we'll say yes to, and the print preview window will open. If everything looks correct, we can then click Print on the bottom toolbar to print our report. We can also print our spec sheets to a PDF file. To do this, we'll click Reports and click Print Specs into PDF files. Here we have the option to print all to one file or to print to individual files. We'll then click the Find button to search for the instrument that we want to print the spec for. We'll choose instrument FE100 and click OK, and we'll click OK once more to print our spec to a PDF. We can also open spec sheets from the Engineering Data Editor or EDE. We'll click the EDE icon on the top toolbar and the EDE Explorer will open. We'll open one of our previously created EDE views to access our instrument tags. This current view gives us access to all of our instrument tags in our unit. To open the spec sheet for one of these instruments, we'll right-click, click Actions, and click Open Specification, similar to how we open the spec sheet from the Domain Explorer. Our spec sheet will open, and to print our sheet, we'll click Print, click Yes to print preview, and once the print preview window is open, we'll click Print to print our spec sheet.